and Bridget clash on the field, and Trina knocks Bridget over. This causes Ginger to snap, and she growls and attacks her. The boys love this because they think that two girls fighting is hot, and they are not portrayed well for this. Ginger and Trina are actually fighting, and the film legitimizes them as human beings having a scuffle, while the boys are jerks for objectifying them. Ginger is pulled off of her and escorted to the counselor's office. Jason shows up with minor wounds from his rough sex with Ginger, delighted about having an awesome night to brag about to his friends. One of them points out a red splotch on the front of his pants, and sarcastically asks if she gave him her period. Jason thinks it's ink until he goes to pee and urinates blood, because yes, she passed on the curse.
She's got the curse.
This is a fairly extraordinary tweak of gender portrayals. Lycanthropy is typically associated with masculine puberty, with the hair growth, lust, and even the body change, standing for the horror of a first erection in the case of American Werewolf in London. A few female werewolves out there are typically portrayed as taking on masculine attributes and being feminine in spite of them. Ginger Snaps actually makes lycanthropy about female puberty, both for the female protagonist and for a male victim, who acquires the horrific feminine attributes in the same manner as women acquire masculine werewolf traits. It further serves to inundate the film with femininity, and it helps legitimize women by making female issues matter. It's not just a sexist joke to degrade Jason by associating him with women, but instead elevating female issues and knocking down the male ego. He's now a subordinate victim character threatened by the female antagonist in a flip of the usual dynamic. Bridget sees what's going on, and she is a real figure of power who could try to manage the situation. Femininity has effectively taken over the typically masculine werewolf portrayal, though lycanthropy is also depicted as a virus, steadily taking over the human host. Not so much spiritual as science we don't understand yet, and as this virus can be sexually transmitted, it has additional meaning as an STD. Bridget tells Ginger that her unprotected sex passed it on to Jason. In this way, the plot is a bit regressive in depicting a promiscuous woman as dangerous and irresponsible for being a vector for STDs. It's ultimately not so bad because the film still has a healthy respect for the female characters. Ginger is grossed out when she hears, and it's all more or less the fault of the lycanthropy. Bridget wants to go see what Sam's idea is, but Ginger is jealous and suspicious of Sam's intentions, so she invites herself along. On the one hand, she cares for her sister and doesn't want Sam hurting her. On the other hand, she doesn't want Bridget to have a greater friend than her. In terms of lesbian subtext, she's jealous of Sam as a romantic competitor. Her exaggerated negative characteristics make her attempt to secure Bridget in her life abusive in nature. Ginger is so aggressive, controlling, abrasive, and Bridget so desperately trying to rein her in, that Sam easily guesses that Ginger is the werewolf, but he goes along with Bridget's story. It's kind of in line with the dominance and submission themes common to humanoid horror figures, in that Ginger is recognized for being a monster because of her dominance traits, and Bridget is recognized as just a human for not having overt dominance traits, if not actually having submissive traits. It's an overdone stereotype connected with rape fantasies. It's very refreshing that Ginger isn't sexualized as a sexy dominant monster, and is only attractive if you happen to be into her. Sam's solution is aconite, also known as wolfsbane. Interestingly, he has a medical reasoning behind it instead of magical. That in small amounts, it increases white blood cell count and helps the immune system fight off infections, like the werewolf virus. Based on my cursory research, it seems like this might be accurate to some degree. There are alternative medicine shops that hawk it as a cure for fever. I treat alternative medicine as equal parts hokum and unregulated powerful drugs dressed up as hokum to sneak by the FDA. So it might have some effect. I wouldn't recommend anyone shoot up on wolfsbane though. It is a poison used to kill wolves.
Hence the name.
Sam has a softcore porn magazine sitting around. Ginger picks it up and looks at it, which adds to the general lesbian subtext, even as she uses it to insult him a few minutes later. She calls him a pervert and insinuates that he's trying to take sexual advantage of Bridget, and Bridget tells her to get out. Ginger agrees, but gives a nasty parting comment about not caring if Sam rapes her. It's a repulsive thing to say, and it illustrates Ginger's continuing degradation. After she leaves, Sam defends himself by saying that he doesn't think of her like that. Bridget comes off as the only level-headed one in the room. It would be easy to portray her as being actually attracted to Sam, but I think that they are really, truly just friends. and that kind of depiction is commendable. Ginger tries to shave her legs, but it's difficult because of the thick werewolf hair. It's another good depiction of the troubles of female puberty, though most young women don't also have dew claws. These go with the tale as a representation of the body horror associated with puberty, and it's nice to have a female-centric version to go along with American Werewolf in London's erection hand. The mom comes in, and Ginger tries to get her to leave by pretending that she's just self-conscious about her weight, leading to Mom to give a lecture about magazines giving girls impossible beauty standards. It functions as comedy and tension because the mom refuses to go away, but it also serves to deliver a decent feminist point. Ginger screams and she finally leaves. That night, the parents are out. Bridget comes home, and Trina confronts her. Ginger apparently stole her dog to satisfy her hunger, and Trina saw her take him, so she's here for her dog. Trina insults her by calling her not a virgin, but the overall sympathetic portrayal of Bridget makes us respect her regardless of whether or not Trina's assessment is accurate. Ginger's reckless sexual activity may be shamed, but not the simple act of having sex. Ginger rushes to Bridget's aid through attacking Trina. While Bridget tries to get Ginger to back off, Ginger drags Trina into the house and yells at Bridget for supposedly replacing her with Sam. Jealous much? Ginger suggests replacing Bridget with Trina, her new friend, which apparently means defense class dummy. In the struggle, Trina slips on spilled milk, hits her head, and dies on the floor. Interestingly, milk was always in the scene, even in the original script when it was as dramatically different as Bridget walking in on Ginger force-feeding Trina glass. The milk may have been intended to reference semen, which then works with the blood to create a relatively common visual motif, representing the conflict between life and death. There is some lovely sick humor, where immediately after crossing this line, Ginger and Bridget are forced to hide the body and pretend the crime scene is an art project in order to fool their parents. Carefully creates a cringe-worthy release of tension without disrespecting any of the characters involved. Trina's death is ultimately treated as a horrifying tragedy, but we can still laugh at Ginger as a werewolf licking up Trina's blood, while pretending to be a human looking at corn syrup, and Bridget distracting the mom from discovering the body by asking what men want. After Bridget accidentally breaks off Trina's fingers, they take the body to the playhouse to bury her in a shallow grave. While digging, Ginger reassures Bridget that they won't get caught because of how gender roles make it hard to see girls as murder suspects.
A girl can only be a slut, bitch, tease, or the virgin next door.
It's true that female murderers will often escape detection because violence is connected with masculinity. This may be an example of benevolent sexism, in which women are treated in a condescending way because of paternalistic idealization of femininity as delicate and innocent. The on-point feminist commentary is woven well into the scene, where it doesn't come across as just an author tract, because of its relevance to a murderer trying to get away with her crime. It should be noted, however, that these gender roles are contingent upon class and race, and a lower-class black Ginger would likely find it difficult to avoid a characterization of being violent. Ginger studies Trina's face, and Bridget asks if Ginger wants to eat Trina. Ginger laughs and denies it, equating it to having sex with her, clearly something repulsive. Though this line comes across as homophobia, it will become clear that Ginger is attracted to women, so it's not so much that she doesn't want to have sex with women, as it is she doesn't want to have sex with Trina. Also, because she does want to have sex with women, it's not that she doesn't want to eat people, just not Trina. This is the classic werewolf association between eating someone and having sex with them. Bridget knows that Ginger is deteriorating and it's dangerous to stay in town now, so they make plans to run away. Until then, Ginger will stay at home where she can't hurt anyone. The parents will think that they're both at school, and Bridget writes a note to say that Ginger is homesick. At school, Jason attacks her. He's turning into a lycanthrope, and he doesn't have a sister to help him through it. Fear mixes together with his socialized masculine aggression to create an unstable mix. If not for the janitor intervening, it's possible he might seriously hurt her. Their mom catches on to the deception and confronts them. Ginger storms off. The mom rages at Bridget, but she diffuses the situation when she sees that the mom got aconite for its aesthetic appeal. Bridget takes it to show Ginger, and walks in on Ginger attempting to cut off her tail, crying about how she doesn't want to be a monster. This visceral scene is evocative of walking in on a suicide attempt, or self-injury, showing that Ginger is not totally gone, and Bridget's support shows the bond of sisterly love standing against the evils of the world. Or a lesbian relationship, but we won't focus on that. The next day, the full moon, Bridget locks Ginger in the bathroom to keep her from hurting anyone while she gets the cure prepared. Ginger is not a happy camper and fights hard to get out. Bridget takes the aconite to Sam, who prepares it like heroin. I'm not sure if that means anything past the fact that Sam is a drug dealer, and he was probably written as a drug dealer so that he'd have an understanding of preparing the cure. I'm suspecting utility over big symbolism. The cure might be symbolic of a drug in the sequel, but not here. Sam reveals that he knows that Ginger is the werewolf, and cautions Bridget that it might kill her. He's only guessing at the dosage after all. Bridget takes the cure back home, but finds that Ginger has escaped. While Bridget tries to find her, she finds Jason harassing a young kid. With all of the strength of a masculine hero from any other movie, she challenges him. They fight, and she injects him with the aconite. It seems to work. He backs off and wanders away in confusion. She smiles with her victory. This represents a significant twist on the typical gender roles in these movies. Bridget is a main character and a hero who fights intimidating monsters. She has a credibility to her strength normally unseen in female characters. Even Buffy starts out as a joke because the idea of a girl being a vampire slayer is absurd. Bridget is special for having all of the respect usually only afforded to male characters while retaining her gothic womanly qualities. Part of her Johnny Depp-like style is that she very rarely smiles. This is something very common to male characters, whose brooding minds are given respect, while women, both on the screen and off, are expected to look constantly happy for aesthetic appeal. Women who brood are considered unusually sad, grumpy, and offensively bringing down the atmosphere of the room. A popular form of street harassment involves men telling women that they should smile. It is therefore feminist that Bridget only smiles at a real, solid victory. It's not about anyone else, it's about her. There's nothing in Ginger Snaps to suggest that aconite isn't a complete cure. The crappy sequel Ginger Snaps 2 Unleashed presents it as only a temporary cure with diminishing returns, where lycanthropes have to continuously inject themselves to stay human, and because that film also features a werewolf whose origins are never explained, some fans think that it's Jason, that Bridget only cured him temporarily, and then he turned and became one of the villains of the sequel. I seriously doubt that the writers of the sequel thought it out that much, and I generally like to forget that Ginger Snaps even has a sequel, or prequel. As far as Ginger Snaps has it, Bridget defeated Jason, cured him, and saved an innocent victim. Jason is a total jerk, but he is no longer her problem, and she can dismiss him. Bridget goes to school and is called over the intercom to the guidance counselor's office. Bridget arrives and sees that Ginger killed him to get back at her. Bridget assures Ginger that she didn't betray her and tries to look after her sister. They wait until school ends, and then Bridget steals the janitor's cart to clean up the crime scene. The janitor walks in on Ginger, however, so Ginger attacks him. Bridget comes back to find Ginger playing with him as a cat plays with a mouse. Ginger is both evil and deluded because she somehow thinks that the janitor is perving on Bridget, and that by doing this Ginger is protecting her. Ginger seemingly kills him accidentally and backs off. But he's infected, and heals because of the lycanthropy. Bridget urges her to let Bridget get Sam to help cure him, but Ginger proves that she's past the point of no return by then killing him for the fun of it. Okay. She then tries to literally seduce Bridget over to the dark side. She graphically describes killing as orgasmic, and comments that the metamorphosis makes it so that they're practically not related anymore, implying that the taboo against incest would be dissolved. As an aside, I always find it weird when murderers care about taboos. Sure, I've killed people, lapped up their blood, and tortured them before they died, but I can't have sex with someone related to me. That'd be weird. Bridget is rightly freaked out and rejects her. All the sisterly tension built up over the years is brought out in a horrible, twisted version of a sibling fight. Ginger leaves to go kill Sam as an act of spite and jealousy in order to remove a barrier to her sister's affections. While doing yard work, the dad finds Trina's broken off fingers. The mom at first thinks that they're theatrical props, but then she rethinks it. She uncovers Trina's body. She figures out that the girls killed Trina and decides to help them get away with it by burning down the house and abandoning her husband as she relocates them. She finds Bridget first and gives her a ride to the greenhouse where Sam's throwing a Halloween party. Ginger is there, partially transformed, but able to pass as wearing a werewolf costume. She goes into the back room and seduces Sam. He starts to go for it, but tells her to stop. She doesn't, and he pushes her away from him. She gets offended and attacks him. Bridget runs in and confronts her. It's a very nice gender flip of the classic werewolf as male aggressor, sexually threatening a female innocent who needs the protection of a male hero. Due to the associations with masculinity masculinity and strength, it is very hard to find a good representation of male sexual vulnerability, but Ginger Snaps does a good job. The sexual assault is legitimized by the fact that they don't make Ginger into a sexual object for the male gaze. She's still only sexy if you happen to be attracted to her. And Bridget has the legitimacy of any male hero, coupled with a respect for the sisters' interpersonal drama. Bridget reestablishes a bond with Ginger by mixing their blood and becoming infected with the Lycanthropy virus. Ginger then willingly lives with her. The mom goes in looking for them, and Bridget and Ginger slip by her. Sam tries to play the hero by knocking out Ginger, but this is a really bad mistake. Now Ginger will be angry and less willing to cooperate. Bridget gets Sam to drive them home in order to cure them, but Ginger wakes up midway and transforms. When they get back, she gets out and stalks them through the house in a truly tense scene. While hiding in the closet, they quickly make a new batch of the cure. Sam takes the syringe to inject Ginger, but Ginger horrifically rips him apart. Now it's up to Bridget. Sister versus sister. Lesbian lover versus lesbian lover. It's a powerful feminine conflict, and in its depiction, feminist. The virus gets to Bridget, and she drops the syringe where she can't easily get it. She goes on without it. She finds Ginger as the wolf with Sam barely alive. She crawls over to him and then starts eating his blood. Ginger joins her, and for a moment they're two monster sisters united together in evil. Bridget rejects that evil, however, and resumes the life and death conflict with Ginger as Sam dies. I like the wolf design. She's clearly female with humanoid breasts, yet appears monstrous and not sexy. She kind of looks like Lupin from Harry Potter. Bridget gets the syringe and a knife, and she makes one last appeal to Ginger's humanity, but she's lost it. Bridget once agreed to die with Ginger, but she now declares that she refuses to die with her. She once admired death, but has found the motivation to live. Ginger lunges at her, and Bridget stabs her with a knife and fatally wounds her. She takes time to mourn the death of her sister, and hugs the wolf as she dies. And so concludes Ginger Snaps. The implication of the ending is that Bridget will take the cure and heal, and that the werewolf curse dies with Ginger, but the film made enough money to justify a sequel, so like Larry Talbot rising from the grave in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, they refuse to let the cure work. In Ginger Snaps 2 Unleashed, Bridget is a werewolf junkie addicted to aconite who hallucinates Ginger haunting her as a ghost. She's taken to rehab where she can't access the cure, and Ginger insults her and she has weird sex fantasies and they're being stalked by another werewolf, and she runs away with another patient who sort of fulfills the sister role in Ginger's absence, and it turns out she's an evil sociopath who ends up keeping Bridget as a demon pet. And there are mean boys who receive far too much respect, and it's not feminist and I hate it. It's just a standard bad horror film, and it does not live up to the empowering themes of the first film. However, it made enough money to justify another film. Ginger Snaps Back the Beginning is kind of a reboot that thinks it's a prequel. It's more or less Ginger Snaps, set in the 1800s. It's supposed to be in the same universe as the film and exploring more of the mythology, but it's about Emily Perkins and Catherine Isabella's two sisters named Bridget and Ginger, who look completely like Bridget and Ginger, who get involved in a plot with werewolves, and is clearly a reboot, but they call it a prequel. As werewolf period films go, get it? It's okay, but nothing special. And it still doesn't live up to the legacy of the first film. At least the sisters are back together, and it's not sexist like Ginger Snaps 2, but now there's racism in its depiction of First Nations. It's best to forget that these two films exist. Ginger Snaps isn't perfect by any means. It suffers from fetishization of the two sisters, and depiction of their incestuous attraction as some kind of empowering lesbian relationship detracts from what is otherwise a respectful portrayal of two young women approaching adulthood. There is a smattering of sexist comments. However, all that can be looked past to appreciate the down-to-earth portrayal and send-up of misogynistic horror films. Even with its flaws, I maintain that it is the most feminist horror film of this generation. Many have attempted to recapture its magic, especially Jennifer's body, but they have yet to succeed. Ginger Snaps remains unmatched.